Albert Speer, also known as Berthold Konrad Erman Albert Speer, was born on the 19th of March, 1905 in Mannheim, Germany, to upper-middle-class parents Louise Mathilde Wilhelmine Hummel and Albert Friedrich Speer. The family eventually moved to Heidelberg, and as a child, little Albert was inquisitive, intelligent, and shy, preferring reading and his studies. He was one of three boys in the Speer family. Being the meekest of the three, he was constantly bullied by his two older brothers Ernst and Hermann. Initially, Albert wanted to be a mathematician, but finally chose architecture instead through the encouragement of his father, who stated that mathematicians couldn't earn anywhere near a living that an architect could. It was around 1922, however, at age 17, that Albert started dating Margaret Weber. The two got along well, much to the disapproval of his parents and his mother in particular, who preferred that Albert marry someone of his own class. The two agreed to marry once Albert finished his studies. Now fully enrolled, Albert excelled in his classes and was even made a teacher's assistant by his professor Tessenau, which made some of his fellow students jealous and spiteful, jeering and mocking Speer whenever he would teach a class. The jeering and mocking stopped, however, when the students realized that Albert was competent and possessed a unique grasp of the subject of architecture. The foes quickly became friends, and finally they accepted Albert Speer as an equal. After his marriage to Margaret Weber in Berlin on August 28, 1928, the 23-year-old Speer, newly graduated, found it hard to find work as an architect. That would all change, though, when on December 5, 1930, Speer would attend a speech by no other than Adolf Hitler. Hitler's speech absolutely enthralled the young Speer. Hitler's words were soft and eloquent, empathizing with the art students in attendance. Speer later recalled in his memoirs that here stood a practical answer to Germany's problems, a man with bravery and stature, willing to shoulder the burden for his people. Speer joined the Nazi Party early 1931. While surviving on a good allowance from his parents, Speer could scarcely find work until in 1932 Joseph Goebbels, then the Gautier of Berlin, gave Speer an opportunity to renovate his offices in Berlin. Upon completion, Goebbels was pleased with his work. But it wasn't until May of 1933 that Speer was thrust into the limelight, designing a massive stage to make the Fuhrer look impressive. Hitler and Goebbels so liked the results that Goebbels appointed Speer stage manager for mass rallies. In January of 1934, Speer was appointed first architect of the Reich before even designing a single building. Speer's crowning achievement, however, in stage production came in 1936 when designing the Cathedral of Light, which featured Wagner's operas and searchlights that Speer had to borrow from the Luftwaffe. The result was an impressive illusion. He also was part of the Olympic Stadium in Nuremberg and oversaw its construction. The stadium was designed to hold mass rallies in the Olympic Games. However, the start of the Second World War ceased its construction and stadium was never built. Throughout the whole time, Speer claimed to be apolitical. But things were to change when, in early February of 1942, Dr. Fritz Todt, Minister of Armaments Production, was killed in an airplane crash. Having nobody else to turn to, Hitler appointed him to the cabinet. He also built the Reichschancellery, in which Hitler called him a genius. Speer proved to be strong in his role and miraculously improved production figures until the end of the war in April of 1945. Now sought after as a war criminal, he was arrested in May of 1945, tried at Nuremberg, and subsequently sentenced to 20 years, which he was to serve to the day, being released on October 1st, 1966. While in prison, he wrote the bestseller Inside the Third Reich and Spandau Diaries. After his release, Speer did countless interviews claiming he knew nothing of the Holocaust. Speer died on September 1st, 1981 in London, England, after doing an interview for BBC. He was 76 years old.